Welcome everyone. My name is Emily Brungard. I work at Cast Iron. I am our growth marketing manager, and I'm so excited to welcome you guys to what is sure to be an awesome session, very informative, educational. Whether you are thinking about working in a commercial kitchen, whether you have done it a little bit in the past, or you've worked in a restaurant, or have a little bit of experience, or you've never set foot in a commercial kitchen. I think this is going to be a really helpful session for you today. So, like I said, I'm Emily. I work at Cast Iron. We're a food business management platform for, of course, food business owners. A little bit about Cast Iron. As we all know, customers, consumers, us included, are getting increasingly smarter and choosier about how they spend their money. We've seen an increase in the number of entrepreneurs who are starting to make and sell food from their homes and from commercial kitchens. So that's why we created Cast Iron, the world's first food business management platform, really as an all-in-one, easy-to-use tool that combines, e-commerce, business management, marketing, kind of everything you need to run a business all in one place. So you can build your online store in 5 minutes, sell where and how your customers want to buy, and spend time creating and less time doing the business stuff that you don't love so much. So that's the overview of Cast Iron. Always happy to chat about Cast Iron, but really what we're all here for is to learn from Katie. So Katie, I will pass it over to you.
All right. I am Katie. I am the sales and community manager for Prep ATX, which is a commercial kitchen facility located in Austin, Texas. This is one of my favorite topics. As a sales and community manager for this kitchen facility, I work from everybody from small businesses to people that are, just starting a food concept to, national brands, kitchens that are looking for a commercial kitchen here in our space. But I get really excited about this topic because, people are so cool and creative about the food businesses they're starting. And, when they're outgrowing their house, kitchen base, and they're looking for a commercial space, I love being able to coach them into moving into this setting. So I do this all the time. So this is what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to do a quick introduction, who I am, what cottage laws are, and then we'll talk about, what you would expect out of a commercial kitchen setting, what the steps are to taking your business to the next level with this, how to select a commercial kitchen, and then what are some of those future growth opportunities for your business as you move up. And then we'll take a Q&A for anybody who's got additional questions. And I'm going to keep this pretty easy breezy. And I've asked Emily earlier to kind of jump in. If anybody has any questions as I'm talking, feel free to put them in the chat and I'll expand on some topics as we're going along. So you want to start a food business. I get calls from people all the time that have a really great food idea and they want to be able to sell it. So typically these are people that have, an awesome, baked good, or they might be making a hot sauce, or they've got grandma's jam recipe that they're ready to share with the world. And they've been, making these products for their friends and families. And now they're starting to get that bug in their ear and they're starting ooh, maybe I should start selling my product. And that is probably what led a lot of you to opening up your cottage food business. So who am I? I am, again, the sales and community manager for Prep ATX. I am a super food enthusiast, which is a really nerdy way of saying I've got a lot of food experience and experience in the food and hospitality industry. I've worked nearly every single job in a restaurant. I have cooked, in a restaurant. I have helped start a small food business. I worked in hotels for many years, mostly in the catering segment. So I just kind of know the ins and out of food in so many different sectors. And then what I like to say is I've got seriously the best job in the world. I get to work with chefs all day long and getting them placed into, a kitchen facility that's the right fit for them. And then I get to watch all these food businesses grow. So I'll talk a little bit more about Prep later on, but just to give you a little background about who I am. And cottage laws. So you guys are probably all mostly in a cottage law, food business right now, but just quick overview, these are laws that allow home food business to legally produce and sell their products. And, these limitations vary from state to state. Cast Iron has all of these state to state regulations on their website. They've got such a great resource library there for you. So if you are, starting to think about opening up a cottage food law business, use cast iron as a resource for that. I use it as a resource too. But in Texas, what I can speak to mostly, these are kind of the four main points is that, your sales can't exceed $50,000 in sales, which is pretty high, honestly. We've got probably one of the least restrictive cottage food laws in the United States. And then any foods that are not considered time temperature. So that would be, obviously you can't be selling hot foods. You can't be selling any refrigerated items, things like that. I think that that's probably pretty standard across all the cottage food laws from state to state. They must be properly labeled. So in Texas, I know that you have to have the ingredients, you have to list any allergens, and then you have to put on your label that this is being produced in a home setting and not in a commercial kitchen. And then, of course, you have to have a food handler certification. Commercial kitchen overview. So these are facilities that are designed and built to current code and sanitary standards with running water, appropriate plumbing, and surfaces that are suitable for food production. These are facilities that are going to have commercial equipment. These are going to be a lot different than cooking in your home environment. Residential appliances don't really quite have, obviously, the volume capacity, but they're all going to be operating a little bit differently than what you do in your home. So that's a thing to kind of consider as you are going to be moving into a commercial setting, especially as you're going to be producing in larger volumes. Your recipes are going to change pretty dramatically. So that's something that you're going to spend a lot of time, doing research and development, or you might want to outsource that to somebody that can help you, tweak your recipe so that you can cook in larger volumes. So that's, something to all take into consideration as you're making this move. Users are going to be held to a higher standard in preparation in order to avoid cross-contamination. And obviously users in this point are going to be the people that are going to in the kitchen cooking and producing the food. In many cases, I believe that this is a United States, like a US Department standard for food and safety. You have to have a food manager certification. That's a level up from a food handler certification, where you're just going to have this crash course that you're going to have to do on a regular basis that is going to really drive in what the proper food handling is going to be for time and temperature control, cross-contamination, and you're going to get a crash course in food science so that you understand how that works so that you can avoid, getting people sick. And then, of course, these facilities are going to be permitted and inspected by local and or state authorities to ensure safe production. So, typically this is going to be like a local health department is going to come and issue a permit for a kitchen space like this. And then they're going to do regular inspections to make sure that everything is being held to the proper standards. Taking your business to the next level. So why would you want to move to a commercial kitchen? So the first one is obviously you're going to be able to produce in higher volumes. So you're probably outgrowing your own home kitchen. You probably have your spouse is yelling at you because you've got flour and cookie crumbs all over the place and they want their home back. But besides that, it's going to give you opportunities to offer more variety in your menu. So again, kind of going back to eliminating that restriction of time and temperature control for food production. So you'd be able to, sell refrigerated items, hot items, things like that. It's really going to open the door to giving you more opportunities for selling by, expanding your menu. It's going to give you more opportunities for selling in different locations. And I'll expand more on that in a different slide. You're going to get tools and resources that are not going to be available at home. So obviously the tools being the commercial kitchen equipment that you're going to be able to work from. In a space like Prep ATX, we really pride ourselves on having tools and resources available for our members. So a big part of my job, once I have all my members in place, is to provide them with resources, and just like Cast Iron does, providing you with resources to help you grow your business. I have, a whole list of different people in town locally that people can connect with if they need resources for investing, if they need resources for packaging and branding and marketing and all those things that help to grow and expand your business. And then you can't discount the opportunity that you would have when you are working in a commercial kitchen setting. You get to really meet and greet a lot of different people in the commercial kitchen, and that's really great for networking. It's really great for collaboration. Austin, Texas is certainly known for being a very collaborative and business-friendly environment, and everybody seems to want to help each other out. You might not live in a city quite as awesome as Austin, but in any case, you will certainly run across other people that you can kind of have mentorship opportunities with. There's certainly going to be people that have been in your shoes, and they can help point you in the right direction and give you some guidance, answer some questions for you. And that gives you, a lot of different opportunities that you might not have, when you're just kind of working from home. I see that all the time in our kitchen facilities. Like there's a caterer that is doing a big event, and they might partner with somebody that can make them cookies or any other kind of dessert that they don't really specialize in. So that gives them, business opportunities. And then marketing collaborations we've seen there's a frozen cookie company and an almond milk company. So what goes better than cookies and milk? So they've done some cross collaborations in the past, and I just love seeing that. So taking the next steps and moving to a commercial kitchen, of course, you should have some kind of business plan. If you don't already, I am just obviously a true believer. Everybody should be a true believer in writing down a good business plan for your business so that you can set some goals and kind of keep you on task with meeting those goals. You'll want to have, a good revenue plan in place. Because you might, not only are you going to want this in case you come across any investors that are interested in your business, you want to be able to have a plan in place that you can send out to them. But you might run into a commercial kitchen that might be a little apprehensive on taking a brand new business. And at least if you be like, hey, I have my stuff together, I have all my ducks in a row, and here's my business plan, they're going to feel a little bit more comfortable in selecting you to be in their kitchen. Obtain an LLC if you haven't already. I know some cottage food producers that I meet are just still using like their business as a sole proprietorship. Having an LLC is obviously good for tax purposes, but also liability. It's going to have, protect your assets once you have an LLC in place. And obviously it's really easy to get on LegalZoom. There's so many different resources out there for getting a quick LLC in place. The next steps would be after that, selecting a commercial kitchen. I'll expand on that in the next slide. And then obtaining any necessary health permitting and training. Again, every single city and state is going to have different permitting and licensing based on where you're at and what kind of business that you're doing. When you're selecting a commercial kitchen, you want to research the type of kitchen that you might need for your business. So for the most part, there's two different camps. There's shared kitchens and then there's private kitchens. For shared kitchens, we've got a couple different options. I'll expand on that in a different slide, but a lot of shared kitchens are typically based on our packages. So there's going to be like a station or a table that's going to be dedicated to you when you book out the kitchen in advance. And then you're going to be sharing appliances with the rest of the producers in the kitchen. And then a private kitchen sometimes comes equipped with equipment, or sometimes in the case of prep, we kind of leave a blank space and then you have to bring in all of your own equipment. And that might be better reserved for somebody who is just like got the money and they're ready to start going in their own space, or they might be, or you might be somebody that is producing like a gluten-free product and you really can't risk any cross-contamination where that just, it's very rare that you're going to find a shared kitchen that is gluten-free. So you might really need to start considering a private kitchen and saving up the money and resources for that. And you might also want to, if that's going to be the case, you want to start researching how much money you're going to need to start investing in private equipment as well, commercial equipment. Start researching reputable facilities. Obviously, Google is great for anything like that, but ask around in your community. Maybe if you're at a farmer's market, ask around to people that might be working in a commercial kitchen and see if you can get any ideas on where they're producing and start shopping around that way. And then don't overlook, reaching out to a local health department and see inspection scores for commercial kitchens to make sure that you're kind of getting in one that is, got a good reputation. And then shopping for reputable food sources. So that could be, big box vendors like US Foods or Cisco. There might be restaurant supplier shops in town where you have to have a business in order to shop there. there's going to be, various ways you want to do that. But once you're starting to produce in higher volumes, you're going to want to start shopping for discounted food items because you're going to be buying in bulk. So you want to start shopping around and looking for good vendors to partner with for your ingredients and supplies. Prep ATX, I could talk about this all day long because I do. So our facility here in Austin is a 55,000 square foot commercial kitchen. We have a shared kitchen with 16 stations, and then we have 40 private kitchens of various sizes. In the shared kitchen, we've got a couple different options. We've got dedicated stations where it's exclusively yours. You have 24-hour access to it. And then you have dedicated cooler and freezer and dry storage for your section. And then we have an hourly station where you book that based on availability with the hour package that you select for your membership. And then everybody in that kitchen shares all the appliances, which are booked in advance. And then we have private kitchens, like the picture to the right, where it's pretty much just like a basic, kitchen shell. We provide a vented hood, all of the sinks that you would need, and then a walk-in cooler, sometimes a freezer. So these are built in a way so that you would have to bring all of your own equipment. You'll have to bring commercial grade equipment for cooking underneath the hood, and then stainless steel prep tables and shelving and anything else that you would need for your facility. We also have facilities in Atlanta. That's where this company is based. They've been in operation for nearly 10 years. They have 4 kitchens going on 5 pretty soon. And then we are going to be opening up markets in Dallas and Houston in the next year, and potentially more cities in the future. So keep an eye out for anything prep related. And certainly, hopefully Emily will be sharing those resources as we get more cities online as well. If you are moving to a commercial kitchen, these are some of the opportunities that you would expect from moving to, upgrading your business. So depending on your local authorities, you might be able to get your foot into farmers markets. Some farmers markets, you don't need to have a commercial kitchen. You don't necessarily have to here in Austin, but it's pretty competitive to get into a lot of markets in Austin, and they will require to have that. So you just get your foot in the door into more markets if you have a commercial kitchen. Then obviously, again, you have the opportunity to sell a wider variety of foods when you have a commercial kitchen. And then you have opportunities to sell like retail locally. So, this could be selling baked goods for local coffee shops. You might have commercial accounts with a restaurant where they might be buying bread from you or other products that they can, resell to their customers. And then this kind of also opens up the world to consumer packaged goods, or CPG as people normally refer it to. And that gives you even further opportunities to sell to like big box stores, like big grocery stores and things like that. I've got this picture of Funky Mellow. They're a member here at our facility, and they make vegan marshmallow fluff. And this is one of their newer products, these, pretzels that they dip in the marshmallow fluff, and they sell at Whole Foods, they sell at Sprouts. I think they are selling at HEB and maybe Central Market, but the door really opens up for you once you get into a commercial setting and you start getting investors, and then you have the opportunity to create higher volumes for bigger sales. And then this also gives you opportunities to expand your online presence. When you have the opportunities to do shipping, if your product is a shippable product, then you can start shipping statewide or even nationwide. So that really, I kind of blew through that pretty quick, but that does give us a lot of opportunity for Q&As. So Emily, let me know if anybody has any questions in the chat, or if you want me to go back and expand on anything that I talked about.
Yes, that was awesome. Thank you for that. I was looking at your website where you list your kitchen members, and I saw Hot Take cookie dough, which I love. I'm a customer of Hot Take.
When you are? Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, they're great. 2 sisters.
Yeah, you have a frozen cookie
dough.
dough brand. I was like, wait, Austin and frozen cookie dough. I was like, maybe that's them. So that's fun. But thank you for this. This was really good. Just a reminder to everyone listening, if you have questions, drop them in the chat or in the Q&A. We do have one question. What are the biggest mistakes that people make when they first join a kitchen?
That is a really good question. And I feel like it really kind of varies from person to person, but really understanding the costs before you get into a kitchen. So I think that some of the mistakes I think some people make, because not only are you going to, you're paying to rent for a space in a kitchen, but with that, you're going to have to, think about the costs that apply to any permitting that you're going to need as you start moving into a commercial space. So really analyze all of the upfront costs that it's going to take you to get into a commercial space based on your, local and state authorities. And then in addition to that, like I think a lot of people might get really ahead of themselves on branding and packaging and really take that into consideration, especially as you're starting to produce at higher volumes, because that's really expensive to change up your branding, change up your packaging. So really doing your homework ahead of time so that you are preparing yourself for higher volumes as well. But really, I think at the end of the day, it's just kind of research on everything that really applies specifically to what you're trying to do and the product that you're making.
Yeah, great answer. This kind of goes off of that question. How much do you think someone should be selling, or like what should your volume be before you move into a commercial kitchen?
That's another kind of like, it really kind of depends on what it is. And I think that I kind of, was joking when I said, I'm like, oh, your spouse or your roommates or whatever, like, I'm tired of you being all over my kitchen. But find where your comfort level is. In the case of a good example of somebody that came to our facility, she makes like cheese boards, and she's kind of like a little catering company. And she also made like, cheese plates and stuff to go. I know that was like really popular during the pandemic, all these like cute little cheese boxes. And she was living in a house with a bunch of girls, and her roommates were like, okay, you're overtaking our fridge. Like, you're taking over our space. Like, get out of here. Like, find somewhere else to do this. And I think that she ended up, having that need to start into a commercial setting, because I mean, her business was growing and she was outgrowing the space in her home. So, but with that said, making sure that you just are really doing the research and analyzing the costs, and putting that business plan in place so that you are understanding those costs associated with this move. And then taking baby steps. Or, I mean, if you really want to bootstrap your business, and you don't have like a whole lot of money, just take the smallest steps that you can getting there, so that you're not going to be stuck in a financial situation where maybe you're not producing as much as you thought you would be. I always say start small.
Yes, great advice. And that's why, hopefully by the time you're considering a commercial kitchen, you've really been able to prove out, people want my product. I've been selling it from home. And now I'm at the point where I can't do this from home anymore. I need more space.
Yeah, exactly. And then, as I said, and I guess maybe just to put some numbers into play, and again, I can only really speak with Austin numbers. We're a very business friendly state, and you don't have to have a business license to start selling a product. So I know, like, and in Georgia, where our other kitchens are at, you have to have a business license. So that kind of eliminates one step for you, and a piece of paper, and probably some permitting applications and fees that you would have to complete. But for Austin, our cheapest entry rate into the shared kitchen is going to be $500 a month. And then to obtain a food permit is going to be around $750. And that is about it. So that's kind of like your upfront cost to really get your foot in the door with a commercial space. So, but again, that's just going to completely change on where you're at and what your local rules are.
That's super helpful to have those numbers. Who would you say would not be a good fit for a commercial kitchen? Do you ever talk to people and say, hey, you might be better staying at home?
Yeah, people that really have not quite had that proof of concept come to fruition. So there are people that I talk to that, maybe have just really kind of sold to friends and family. So they're not like really cottage law. They're just more of a hobbyist, and they kind of have this pipe dream. Not that I'm discounting pipe dreams. All right. Like if you are ready to, kind of take this to a part-time business or even a full-time business, really being prepared for the work ahead of you, because a lot of you probably already know, it's hard starting a home-based business, and then it's going to be even harder taking it to the next level when you start having more overhead costs. So just really being prepared for that, it's like any small business, it doesn't have to necessarily be in food. Like you're going to have to put in the work and the hours to really get your business launched. So I do turn away quite a few people who I know that are just really too in the conceptual phase, and they haven't really been able to prove it. They haven't really nailed down their recipes. They haven't really nailed down or thought out like a business plan. So those are the type of people I'm like, I don't think that you're really quite ready yet, but come see the kitchen. Let me give you some pricing, and then come back to me, when you have a better plan in place and you're ready to make that launch. Because I don't want to see anybody fail. I could take anybody's money all day long, but that's not the right move. I want to make sure that people are, doing the right move and doing what's best for them, but also I want to see people succeed.
When they succeed, it's good for everyone, right?
It's good for everyone. Yes.
That's awesome. So let's say we've never worked in a restaurant, never really been in a commercial kitchen environment. I know you showed some pictures and talked about, the appliances are different than what you would use at home, but what is it like? What should you expect from a commercial kitchen if you've never used one before?
I would say it's going to be it's going to be intimidating. It's large pieces of equipment. Like if you're a baker, like you've probably never worked in like a 60-quart mixer before. Like that is a lot of baking. There's going to be ovens that you're not going to really know how to use because it's not a Whirlpool, like, push, entry type of thing. And it's going to be a whole other world to you. So at my facility, I invite people to, come and do some like research and development on their own time. They can rent the space for $50 an hour, and they can kind of play around with stuff, so long as they have other things in place. I definitely want anybody to have like their liability insurance in place. I want to make sure that they have a food manager's certification. I want to make sure that people at least have a little bit of background so that they know their way around a kitchen and are producing food safely. But I highly recommend, if you have an opportunity to work in a space and just start kind of tinkering around with some of the toys, maybe ask if you can kind of come in on off hours so that it's not going to be so hectic and you're not going to be like in the way of other people producing. But it's like I had mentioned before, when you are going to be taking a recipe and maximizing your volumes, your recipe is not going to be able to just like double, triple, quadruple your recipe. It's especially baking. So you really need to take into consideration that you're going to have to do quite a bit of research and playing around before you get those measurements right. And there are people out there that can help you with that if you wanted to outsource it. But otherwise, it's just really going to be kind of a trial and error. And you're going to need to understand how your stuff bakes differently on commercial gear versus like your home appliances.
Yes, definitely important. You don't want to burn all your cookies, especially if you, just put together a giant batch for the first time, or cookies or whatever you sell. Like you definitely need to do some experimenting before you go all in.
Agreed. And another thing, this is going to sound kind of silly, but because I do get some newbies in the kitchen and they don't really know how to use a 3-compartment wash sink. And that is going to be something where it's like, oh, I just washing dishes, right? Like it's not hard. It's like, well, actually, there's like a lot of rules that come around washing dishes properly in a commercial setting. So that's going to be something where the first time you're going to be at a 3-compartment sink and you're like, okay, how do I put the chemicals in here? And how do I wash it? How do I know what the temperature is correct? So that's going to be also something too that's going to be a little bit of a shocker for people who have never been in a commercial setting.
Yeah. And where would people learn that? Like when you this kind of goes
You would
into
learn
my
that
next
from
question about,
yeah. So
yeah,
you
yeah,
would learn
like,
that from your food handler or food manager certification courses, but
okay.
then actually applying that, in real life, it's going to be like the first time, riding a bike. It's going to feel kind of weird.
Yeah, you've got to pull out your notes from your training course.
Yep.
We have a question about someone asks, I know we will need ServSafe certification, but are there other certifications, what state or national, that they might need? That's probably going to depend on what state you're in.
It's going to depend on your city and state authorities. So in the case of, I basic knowledge of what they do in our Atlanta kitchens, but I know like if you are a caterer, you have to have different licensing to work in a commercial kitchen. So, but yeah, that's just going to have to be something state to state. But if you just look at your local health department's website, that should be able to give you the guidance that you need to go off of.
Perfect. Any suggestions? This might be a little bit of a wild card, but any suggestions for building out a commercial kitchen attached to your home? Have you heard of anybody doing that successfully?
I have.
Yeah.
In Austin, it is not easy to build anything in this town. We've got really complicated building codes. It was a bear just to open up this facility. So it really, again, this just, it all depends on what's going on in your city, and what kind of building codes you need to to learn. It's going to be expensive in any case, but if you have the money and that works for you, I would say go for it, but make sure that you are really doing some research, and you might even want to find somebody that you could really consult with to make sure that you're doing it correctly, so that you're not running into any complications that's going to add more money to that project. I know somebody that was in the process of doing that here in Austin, and then it kind of didn't work out in her favor, and now she's here at our facility. So it certainly can be done, but I think at the end of the day, this really is like a city thing, not a statewide thing, maybe a statewide thing, but it certainly just depends on like your city's building codes.
Yeah, you probably need to be BFFs with your health department and your whoever manages building and construction.
Yeah, because I mean, in the case of like Austin, besides like a health department, you're going to have a city fire inspector, a city mechanical inspector. There's going to be 5 different departments that are going to want to permit your space probably. So it's not just as easy as putting in commercial kitchen appliances and applying for a health permit. Like the city has got to do their due diligence and making sure that it is adequate, and there's a lot of hoops to jump through with that. So that's why I think that if you did want to have something like more private, that could be finding like a retail space and then outfitting that space with a commercial kitchen. That's still going to be expensive too, but you might get that, the double feature of having a commercial retail space attached to your kitchen, just like you would probably see most bakeries around town. Yeah, so I mean, really, that's kind of like another example of how you could go about it.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Do you have time for 2 more questions, Katie?
Of course. Yeah.
All right. What would you say is the biggest surprise that people find once they're in a commercial kitchen?
I pretty much talked about that, but I feel like, using commercial appliances, that is a learning curve. And then I think sometimes the costs, if people didn't do a very good job at researching the upfront costs, I think that sometimes gets people. And then also knowing that just because you're producing higher volumes doesn't mean you're making more money. So you really that's why a business plan is really going to be so important to you. So just because you're not meeting, demands at your home, doesn't mean just because you're making more, you're going to be selling more. So where else are you going to be selling your products? And that's where, being in a commercial setting gives you those opportunities, but you need to start researching, where do you want your product to be sold? And how do you get to those places? How do you start having those conversations if you're going to be, selling your baked goods at coffee shops? have you started those introductions? Have you started giving like those samples out to people and having those phone calls? If you don't kind of already have those ducks in a row, don't jump into a commercial kitchen until you really know how you're going to be expanding those selling opportunities.
Yes, super important. We're actually hosting an event at the beginning of next month. It'll be all about marketing, and we're going to have a session all about local networking and how to make those connections with local businesses. So I'm going to drop the link in the chat for registration.
I might want to join that. That sounds like a good one.
Super important. All right, we'll wrap it up with one last question. When would you say you are really, really ready to join a commercial kitchen? Like, what is like the one thing that you would say, yep, you're ready?
I would say maybe a couple different indicators. One, maybe you have started having conversations with like an investor or somebody that's like, hey, like your product is amazing. I want to see more of it. I want to help you. Then that's going to be like your golden ticket. Like, yeah, jump into a commercial kitchen and start, working on that plan and getting your production up. And then I also think that really, if you are like maybe in the case of like the Texas laws, you're starting to exceed your annual sales, then yeah, like whatever your state limitations are on that, if you're starting to exceed your sales, then go for it. Like, I think that is definitely going to be like your huge indicator. And also, if you're totally in a comfortable spot, you've saved enough money, you've got the support from family members, and you're in a good place to take that financial leap and move this to full time, then I think that would also be like a huge indicator too.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. This has been incredible. Where can people get in contact with you or learn more about Prep? If they have questions about working in a commercial kitchen, can they reach out to you?
Of course. Yeah, no, feel free. If you want to email me, my name is Katie, Katy, at prepatx.com. And you can find more information on our website at prepatx.com. We also have another website for our brand, prep.kitchen. Where you'll be able to have resources to both the Atlanta and the Austin kitchens. And then that's where we will post more information about our upcoming cities as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Katie.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, everyone, for joining. So glad you could make it. And I hope that everyone has a great afternoon.
Yes. Thanks a lot. Have a good day.